This one, and I'll welcome all the new.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. See.
Yeah.
I've been, oh, I've seen you react.
Sorry to hear that.
I tried.
Was that what's going on?
He wanted his notes so you can see.
Oh. It's important. Okay, so the rest of us can't. It's okay, I got it.
Oh.
So then, when you're gonna.
What? No, but I'm just showing you can adjust the windows.
Well, wait, okay, so wait a minute, the other mouse is still working though, right?
Yeah. Don't you worry about it.
Cause I need to use it for other things.
I know, but my point is, if you want that to be bigger,
Oh, okay.
you can do that.
Well, I do want that up here. I can't see it.
Okay. Or if you want that to be bigger, because that's just what's coming up.
Right, I don't care about that.
Yeah.
This one. Okay, cause
See? Just that, and then I'll adjust it back to where I can.
that's fine.
Lady goes around. Well, I'm very convinced. You're moving. Yeah, I was like, maybe that's
Okay, it's 7:30. We're gonna get started. Okay, our opening slide has a picture from David Havlin. David, would you like to tell us about your picture?
You go from one side to the other, it's basically the distance between Galveston and College Station. Prayer is that big. Also, the oldest one of those three, Fondas being in the middle and Rosetta being the newest. You can actually see the terrace walls in the center spring peak. It's great wall down to the other side, down at about 8 o'clock, but it's actually a common telescope object. It's actually a sheared wall that's pitched at about 60 degrees. Depending on how you catch the sun, you can see the front side or the back side of the wall. And way up around the area, almost off screen, that's kind of right where Apollo 14 landed.
Great. Thank you, David. Appreciate that. Okay, here is our, oh my goodness. That's our agenda for this evening. And before we get started, I'd like to welcome anybody. This is your first time here. I see a lot of people that I don't know. So if it's your first time here, raise your hand, tell us your name, how you found out about the JSC Astronomical Society is, and what your interest is in astronomy.
I'm studying computer science and cybersecurity, and I am an intern at Johnson Space Center. I'm interning as a software engineer for experiments in FOD.
How'd you find out about the meeting?
There was a calendar invite that was sent out on.
The JSC today,
Yeah,
where that,
JSC.
right. Okay. Round it. Wait.
I think one of the organizations here.
Excellent.
Posted in one of the astronomy organizations.
Excellent. Who's your friend?
My name is Gabriel Torres. I found out about this through her. I'm in oil and gas accounting and used it.
Excellent. Who else is new? Right here. Ooh. And there she is, our recruiter right there. All right. Anybody else? First time here, right here.
Kind of round up emails and that's send out every once in a while. Do kind of mid-design, or I guess projected design work for the artist mission. One of my latest kind of tasks was over some glitter stuff that I thought was really cool. So, fits right in.
Excellent. Next to you, right here.
Josh, I found out about this through him. So I'm also in contract with Josh. And I did a lot of Artemis Orion stuff.
Excellent. Who else? First time here, right here.
Full-time student for minor astronomy.
Excellent. So far, Dr. Masuda has 2 points tonight. Anybody else? First time here, right here. Ed. Yes. Excellent. Okay, so Ed gets 1 point tonight. Who else? First time here, right there. Excellent. So Ed is 3-1 right now. Did you bring anybody else? Okay. Okay. Anybody else? First time here. That's willing to admit it's your first time here. Right there. Excellent. Who's your friend? Oh. Excellent. I think this is the most new people we've had in a long time. Okay, anybody else? First time here. Did I miss anybody? It's okay if you don't want to admit your first time here. Anybody else? All right, good enough. Charlie, I think you're really bringing the crowd here. That's a good thing. So there's our agenda for this evening. Maybe you can read that while we were greeting people. Okay, so we have an email distribution list. If you want to get on meetings only, you send an email to Ron at the top email address. If you want to get on the general distribution, send one to Dave at the bottom email address. Or if you don't want to take a picture of those, you can't take a picture. Or you see B Hung back there is holding up this clipboard. And the clipboard has these little tear off tabs that has those email addresses on them also. So you can get one of those tear off tabs from her if you want to get on our distribution. Or you can send an email to those right there. Both of them have the same email addresses on them. Okay, reminder to speakers. Speakers, please use the mouse pointer here so the people online can see what you're pointing at. See the little red dot? Because if you point with a green laser pointer, the people online have no idea what you're pointing at. All right. And the microphones, the stream mic is in this laptop and the room mic is here. So you guys cannot wander away from here, because if you do, then the people online won't be able to hear what you're saying. So you got to stay kind of in this general area for people to hear you. All righty. Now, time for our main speaker for this evening. Let me introduce Charles Armstrong. Charles Armstrong, there he is a retired NASA veteran with 45 years of experience at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, including roles as flight controller, astronaut trainer, and project management. An expert on extravehicular activity, EVA, or spacewalks, Charlie has worked as a spacesuit consultant and currently serves as a member of NASA's EVA and Human Surface Mobility Program Standing Review Board. Join me in welcoming Charles Armstrong.
Thank you very much, Doug. Thank you all for letting me be here tonight. I'm going to tell you about an interesting incident that we had a few years ago with EVA spacewalks. We'll talk about that in just a second, where we almost drowned a guy in the suit. So let's talk about that.
My head is really wet, and I have a feeling that it's increasing.
Hey, Luca from Houston, how you doing? Give us the status.
Luke, did you hear that? Squeeze my hand if you're fine, Luke. Shane, I don't think he can, his voice is going out or he can't hear you.
So like I said, we're going to talk today about EVA a little bit, spacewalks, and how we almost drowned Luca Parmitano in a spacesuit during a spacewalk. So I think everybody's familiar with this picture. This is Bruce McCandless on STS-41B, where he's flying the manned maneuvering unit about 300 feet from the space shuttle. And this, of course, is an example of an EVA. We don't do this much anymore, but of course, that was the first untethered spacewalk. Now, EVA is one of the most hazardous undertakings we do in space. It's right behind launch and entry. And until Columbia, actually, it was number 2 until we lost Columbia during entry. Because, of course, number 1 is launch, because you attach yourself to a large bomb and to hurl yourself into space. And so it was Chris Kraft, the first flight director, that basically said that EVA is dangerous. You're only one failure away from certain death. So, so that's one of the risks that we take when we are exploring space. But it's also one of the most coveted things to do for an astronaut, because here you have a chance to experience the universe in space up close and personal, because you're out in it. And so everybody wants to do an EVA if they can do it. And so that's what we did. Now, every so often things do go wrong. And so this is the story of one of those times. Now, the U.S. space program has performed nearly 3,400 hours of EVA. And along with the Russians, there have been over 270 EVAs just to assemble and maintain the International Space Station. Over 200 EVAs have been performed using our current spacesuit. It's pretty old and very experienced now. So after 50 years of experience, you'd think we'd have it all figured out. But the EMU is essentially a miniature spacecraft, and it's a very complicated machine. So there are still some things we've got to learn about it. So let me paint you a picture of July 16th, 2013. It was just another day on the ISS. This is the Expedition 36 crew, consisting of 3 Russians, 2 Americans, and 1 Italian, representing the European Space Agency. Now, these 2 guys, Chris Cassidy on the left, Luca Parmitano on the right, are 2 EVA astronauts. Chris was a Navy SEAL. Luca was an Italian test pilot. Now, they also have, helping them today will be Karen Nyberg. She was what we call our IVA crew person. We always have somebody on the inside, kind of as a safety monitor, also helps to configure the station systems that may be necessary to be reconfigured to support the astronauts on their spacewalk, and to, of course, drive the arm if necessary. Now, we'll also hear from this guy. This is the Capcom for this EVA, the voice of mission control, if you will. This is Shane Kimbrough. He's also an astronaut. And of course, mission control always funnels all the communications to the crew through one person in the control center. And Shane was it for this EVA. Now, during an EVA, to prevent the crew from floating off into space, each crew member is continuously tethered to something. Okay. And by and large, we have the crew uses what we call safety tethers to attach to what we call a slide wire that runs along most of the length of the truss of the space station, the big structure in the middle of the space station. It's kind of similar to a dog run. Now, we also use our hands to walk in space because your feet are basically useless except when you are trying to maintain yourself at a workstation where you anchor your feet into a foot restraint, and then you want to have your hands free. But we walk with our hands and we use handrails, and the handrails are always going to be a yellow or gold color. You can see those here, and this is the slide wire I was talking about, and you can see where he's tethered here. So that's basically the fundamentals of spacewalks. Now, just for reference, each crew member also wears what we call a safer, which is basically a little jet pack, kind of based on the MMU back in the day, which means simplified aid for EVA rescue. And it's basically got enough gas that if you should find yourself floating free for some reason, you can get back to the station because the station cannot come after you. Now, as I mentioned, the spacesuit, if you will, is a miniature spacecraft, and its actual real name is the Extravehicular Mobility Unit, or the EMU. And we're going to have to know a little bit about this to understand what went on. So basically, what we have here is we've got your big white suit part that's called the spacesuit assembly, and then you wear a backpack called the Primary Life Support System, the PLIS, and then underneath that we're going to concentrate on a few components here: the LCVG, the liquid cooling and ventilation garment, the drink bag, and finally the comm cap, or sometimes called the Snoopy cap, right there. Okay. Now, I should also point out, in the backpack, of course, is all the life support systems for the suit. So that's why that's going to become important in just a moment. So on this particular day, everything started out nominally. They egressed the airlock on time, and in fact, they were running way ahead.
And so getting confirmation from the spacewalk officer, Karina Eversley, here in Mission Control Houston, the astronauts officially switching their EMU suits over to battery at 6:57 a.m. Central Time, 7:57 a.m. Eastern Time, while the International Space Station is flying over the southern Pacific Ocean just to the northeast of New Zealand.
So about 44 minutes into the EVA, everything's going very well. They're actually they're 44 minutes into the EVA, and they're 40 minutes ahead in their timeline. So everything's really going peachy. And Luca calls this down.
So I think last for you at the work site is just putting that connector in the G-Tech bag and cinching it up.
Roger that, all in work. And Chris and Shane, FYI, I feel a lot of water on the back of my head, but I don't think it speaks from my back. Are you sweating? You working hard? I am sweating, but it feels like a lot of water. It's not going anywhere. It's just in my sneaky cap.
And Luca, we copy.
Copy. Just FYI.
All right. So Lucas says he feels a lot of water on the back of his head. And he says he doesn't think it's from his bag. It's just the back of his head and in his Snoopy cap. So let's talk about what he's talking about there. So the bag he's talking about is this one here. This is called the in-suit drink bag. It's basically like a camelback, if you're familiar with that from hiking, that kind of thing, except instead of wearing it on your back like a camelback, it's actually Velcroed into the front of the suit, right about here in front of his chest, and it's got a little straw at the top. that he sips out of. And it holds about 32 ounces worth of water, and that's for the water that he's got for the entire duration of an EVA. Now, EVAs can run on the order of 7.5 hours, and then you also have sometimes as much as 4 hours prior to that in the suit getting ready to due to what we call denitrogenation that you have to perform prior to going. So you can be in the suit for a long time, and that's your only source of water. So anyway, that is the drink bag that he's talking about. And this, of course, this is Uncle Neil. No, not really. But he's wearing the Snoopy cap, the comm cap, and that's what he's talking about there. And it consists of, you got microphones in front of your mouth, and you've got ear cups where that's where you're hearing basically what's going on. So Luca's still out there working away. A few minutes later, the ground calls up, looking for a status.
Hey, Luca, while you're working there, can you give us maybe some more words on the water? Maybe identify the source, you think, and then is it getting any worse or is it the same?
Good questions. It feels the same. It's not increasing nor more. I still feel it, and I cannot tell you the source. My only guess is that it came out of my bag and then found its way over there in the back, but I don't have any water in the front of the helmet.
So now he's saying that even though it's not wet in the front of the suit and the helmet, he still thinks it must be coming from the back. Okay. Now, here we are.
My Snoopy cap. I see these as sweat. No, it's not sweat. No, it's not sweat.
Hey, Luca, can you clarify, is it increasing or not increasing?
It's hard to tell, but it feels like a lot of water. Oh, I see. I see it now, wiggling. Can you see? It's over here, right? Yeah, but I have that, and then there is about the same amount of when I took the helmet down last time, Chris. Really? Yeah, I can feel it in the back of my head. I don't understand where it's coming from. It can't be the water. It has to be the bag. Can you suck it dry?
Okay, so in this clip, Chris has come over to Luca and he's looking inside his helmet. And he sees the water in the helmet. Okay. And he thinks if it's not sweat, it's got to be coming from the drink bag. It's the obvious source of water inside the suit. Now, then he says how it's about the same amount of water as the other day. So what's he talking about there? Well, nobody picked up on this at the time, but basically he's referring to the previous EVA, EVA 22, which was about a week earlier on July 9th. When he came in from that EVA, they found about a half liter of water that was in his helmet. Okay, but it's so just keep remembering that because it's become important later. Now they concluded, of course, at this point it must be the drink bag. Chris asks Luca to see if he can drink the rest of the drink bag, and I can tell you from listening to the ground loops that they were all thinking exactly the same thing as Chris.
Oh, so that stuff on your forehead is not sweat? No, it's not. Oh, I see. Okay, it has to be it's the bag, because the bag is dry now. Yeah.
And Chris and Luca, you guys can just hang tight there. Chris, you can continue to help troubleshoot if need be, but we're going to talk about it here for a minute.
All right, so Chris and Luca continue the little conversation and about the water in the process. He now said he's emptied the drink bag. All righty. So at this point, the ground is confused and beginning to get a little concerned. But since they pretty much have concluded that it's the drink bag and it's now empty, they decide that they'll cautiously continue the EVA.
Hey, Chris, can you say radio check? Radio check? Yeah, comm check. Comm check. Yeah. I'm wondering if the water is getting to my ears. And the only other option, Chris, that I'm thinking is the LCVG.
Okay, so now by this point, the water has migrated into those ear cups in his comm cap. And he's worried that he may not be able to hear what's going on. So he wants Chris to give him a comm check to make sure that he can hear stuff. So since the drink bag is now empty, he's beginning to think, well, maybe it's in my LCVG. This is the LCVG, the liquid cooling and ventilation garment. And basically, it's long underwear that the crew wears under their suit that provides them with cooling. Because if you think about it, the EMU is basically a big rubber suit that if you had no cooling, you're just going to sweat to death in the thing. So we provide cooling by, we'll talk about it in a minute, but basically the PLIS processes the water, cools it down, and it runs through a bunch of itty bitty water tubes running up and down the body of the suit, okay, or the LCVG rather. And it also has, that's the cooling, liquid cooling part. The ventilation part, you see these yellow tubes here, you can see kind of sticking out. Basically what happens is the atmosphere in the suit, which is basically 100% oxygen with a little bit of carbon dioxide and water vapor, flows in over your head, down in front of your face, down, and it gets sucked in up by these tubes, returned back to the PLIS for processing, and then the process continues. So anyway, this is another potential source of water inside the suit. So he's thinking maybe it's from that. So after this last exchange, the ground briefly discuss the situation, and they call up and ask for another status from Luca.
Hey, Luca, can you give us a status of where you think? It sounded like we just heard you cannot hear. Is that true as well?
No, I can hear perfectly. I can still hear perfectly, but my head is really wet, and I have a feeling that it's increasing. And I'm thinking that it may, I don't know if it's possible, but I'm thinking it may be the LCVG that's leaking. Is that a possibility?
Just at the fan or the cooling.
No, I haven't touched anything.
So the leak would remain and they would see data.
But where's it coming from then? It's too much.
I don't know, it's a lot.
That's in my eyes.
And you back with us?
All right, Chris and Luca, just for you guys, based on what we heard with Lucas saying that water is in his eyes now and it seems to be increasing, we think we're going to terminate EVA case for EV2. So, Luca, we'll have you head back to the airlock. Chris, we'll get a plan for you to clean things up here and then join him here in a minute.
Okay.
All right, so Luca now is sensing that water is increasing, and it is hard to hear. And he says the water is over his eyes. Remember, inside spacesuit, you can't just reach up and wipe it off because there's a big helmet in the way. So, and once water gets in your eyes, it stays there, it gloms to your eyes. It's floating around, so it's glomming to your eyes. So he's having a hard time seeing. So the ground calls for what we call a terminate EVA, and that is basically an orderly shutdown of the EVA. They're coming in early. Basically, in this case, what will happen is the guy with the problem comes back to the airlock and hooks up the umbilical, usually. In this case, they won't do that, and gets in the airlock and then waits for the other guy who's going to clean up the workstations and make sure that the exterior of the space station is in a safe configuration in case, while between now and the next time they can go outside, they have to perform some maneuver, some avoidance maneuver or something like that. They don't have tools flying off into space. That could be a real problem later. So they still don't quite understand the severity of the situation. But so right now, they do not feel this is a time critical situation. So that's why they call for a terminate EVA. If you have a more serious issue, like a big hole in your suit, that's called an abort EVA. Whoever's got the problem, they run back to the airlock and they slam the hatch shut. The other guy tries to keep up what he can, and you repress very rapidly. This is a terminate EVA, so it's this orderly kind of a shutdown. So they're proceeding along that line.
Okay, we're back with you, Luca. Can you give us a status?
Hey, Chris? Yeah. So I'm at the airlock. Coming up on the wing. I have a lot of water.
And then
Section. Yeah, you can look at concept. I hear you weak but readable, Luca. Can you tell me where? I can barely read you. I'm opening the airlock cover. And I'm waiting.
Copy, thermal cover open.
Why don't we just? I recommend, Shane, that we do. I will go in as the last guy, and we just get Luca in there now. No sense in having him wait.
That's correct. We want Luca to hop in.
Data.
Yeah, we want Luca to hop in now. Do not connect your SCU, and Chris, you will come in second and do the hatch ops.
here you can see Luca's at the airlock.
Great. You copy that, Luca? Head on in. Okay, I'm in. Roger that.
His helmet, neither crew.
Helmet is kind of saturated with water. The whole, I have a lot of water in the front of the visor, and I feel it around my head, and there's sun in my eyes and in my nose. There's a lot of water. I cannot quantify it. I got into the ears because I can barely hear you guys, and I maxed the volume. Shane, I don't know. Did you hear all that?
Yeah, Chris, if you could relay some of that. We caught parts of it, Chris, but if you could relay, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's a lot of water. His head is saturated. It's in his eyes as well as in his nose and mouth.
And so at this point, Chris has now ingressed the airlock, closed the hatch, and Karen started the airlock repressurization. And in this video, you're going to hear the air going into the airlock. You'll hear it kind of as background noise while they're talking.
Hey, Luca from Houston, how you doing? Give us the status.
Luke, did you hear that? Squeeze my hand if you're fine, Luke. Shane, I don't think he can, his voice is going out or he can't hear you, but I'm trying to see him. He looks fine. He looks miserable, but okay.
Copy all, Chris. We'll just status you from now on to check on him.
And they finally have the hatch open.
The crew bringing Luca through the hatch into the equipment lock. They'll be expediting the removal of his suit, getting the helmet off first thing, and leaving some of the other components like the safer and the workstation attached. Meanwhile, Chris Cassidy standing by inside of the crew lock.
So let me let you hear Luca's experience in his own words.
I think that for a couple of minutes there, maybe more than a couple of minutes, I experienced what it's like to be a goldfish in the fishbowl from the point of view of the goldfish. So about half an hour into the EVA, 45 minutes maybe, Chris and I were ahead on our task. So we were starting our third task, and I felt some water on the back of my head, and I realized that it was cold water. It was not a normal feeling. So I told ground. Chris came by to give it a look. He couldn't see anything. He took some pictures of it, but it wasn't until a couple of minutes later that we actually saw the water trickling in the front of the helmet. And then I felt it covering my ears. And at that point, we called the terminate for the EVA. I started going back to the airlock, and the water kept trickling until it completely covered my eyes and my nose. It was really hard to see. I couldn't hear anything. It was really hard to communicate. I went back using just memory, basically going back to the airlock until I found it, and then went inside. And Chris was there in split seconds to come inside, close the airlock, and repressurize. Karen was already there, ready to repressurize. Our Russian colleagues were all there to help, and as soon as the two compartments were equalized, they doffed. Meaning they took off my helmet, wiped my face from all the water, about 3 pounds of water, I would say, and that was the end of it. For me, the worst part, as Chris mentioned, I was miserable, but okay. It's just imagine walking around with your eyes closed in a fishbowl. Really, that's what was going on at the moment. It's just a very uncomfortable feeling to be with your face underwater for all that time. But the reaction of the crew was outstanding. I think the crew on the ground and the crew on board. Chris really supported me, and I was just lucky to be back inside in no time.
14 is complete, and we'll continue on with the rest.
So Luca left out a few things in this interview that he discussed with us and the ground team after the EVA during the debrief. Now, he said the water continued to trickle in and got into his eyes. It was worse than that, okay? After the call to terminate the EVA, the sun went down. You saw that it was dark outside all of a sudden. So he's basically in darkness, and all he's got is helmet lights to see around and all that. And then in the process of translating back to the airlock, he needed to flip over. Remember, there's no up or down in space and that kind of thing. So if you use your hands and get the right direction, he flipped over. Water blob here flips over. He flips over. It stayed there, and it went there. So it's over his eyes. He's blind, basically. There's no light. And so he's feeling his way back to the airlock from memory, from training in the NBL and that kind of thing, and just things like that. And he's following his tether because it's kind of pulling him back in that direction. Now, let's see. And we're really lucky that this whole incident didn't happen a few minutes later in the timeline, because later in the timeline, they were supposed to go way far away to the end of the truss and do some work down there. So his problem, this all occurred really right around the central part of the space station, near where the airlock is. So it was not as big a deal as it would have been if he had been 100 feet away or something like that. So he also said, Chris came over quickly, and he came as quickly as he could. But remember, he was busy also taking care of safing all the equipment that was outside. And I can't remember if I told you this already, but usually when they go outside, we route the crew in different directions so they don't tangle their tethers. So Luca's going one way, Chris is going another. So Chris still had to follow his own tether route back to the airlock, which did not necessarily allow him to accompany Luca all the way back there. So Chris tried to get back as fast as he could, but and Luca said that he was wishing that Chris could have been there, and Chris was wishing he could have been there too, but they did as best they could. Big problem was nobody on the ground really understood the severity of this. And that was because, okay, we heard people do comm checks and things like that. Well, it turned out, it seems that Luca, the entire time, was telling the ground and everybody else about the issues he was facing, but nobody was hearing him. There's probably water in the microphones. And then it just so happened that somebody say, Luca can give us a status, and he was able to talk to him. So they think that they're having free two-way conversation, and it's working fine for them. So, so that just, made things even more confusing. And then in there's a little nugget of information that he provided that would have changed everything if he had mentioned this during the EVA, and that the water was cold. It would have helped everybody understand. He didn't offer that. Nobody asked him about what the temperature of the water was, and he didn't offer it. And so that's a new piece of information. And I think this interview occurred after we had our debrief, and he provided that piece of information. And and I think he thought, oh, I should probably throw that in for the interview. So after all this happened, to get to the bottom of it, a mishap investigation board was convened, appointed on July 22nd, 2013. And the mission of the board was to gather information, analyze facts, identify approximate causes, intermediate causes, and root causes that resulted in the mishap. In addition, the MIB was asked to comment on observations and contributing factors related to the mishap and make recommendations that could be implemented within NASA to prevent similar mishaps from occurring in the future. And we're very fortunate that this was only a mishap investigation of what was called a high visibility close call and not an actual accident. No one was hurt or killed during this event. I was asked to participate in the investigation as a technical advisor to the board. Now, so how the heck did this happen? That was basically our charge. And what the board found, there were several missed opportunities to either avoid the mishap altogether, or to at least mitigate its severity while it was happening. Now, turns out a previous design of the water bag did have a tendency to leak. So everybody from the crew to the ground immediately jumped on to the conclusion that the water must be coming from the drink bag. So the first thing we had them do was test the drink bag, fill it up with water. Remember, he drank all of it. So fill that back up with water, and we had them squeeze it every which way to Sunday, and no water leaked out. Okay, that wasn't it. So remember how I pointed out that there was a comment about Luke about how it was the same amount of water from the previous EVA and all that kind of stuff. Well, at the time after that EVA, they also concluded that whatever that water was, it obviously came from the drink bag. And it was such a common knowledge thing that everybody on the ground and in space jumped to that conclusion, and they took the EVA 22 drink bag and just threw it away as a disposable drink bag. And it was to the point that they didn't even write up an anomaly report to have anybody do any further investigation. Okay, so we had the crew find that one, probably in the stinky wet trash, and fill it up and test it. And guess what happened? Didn't leak. Wasn't the drink bag. So EVA 22 was probably the first first occurrence of this water in the helmet phenomenon that we didn't understand yet. Then they inspected the LCVG to see, is that the culprit? Now, we didn't think it was actually going to be because, of course, and they didn't find anything because, and the reason I say didn't think it would actually be it is because the way I described the event flow, what we call it, comes in over the back of the head, across the face, down across the body, and gets sucked up by the little yellow tubes on the LCVG. Airflow is going down. There's no mechanism for water down here to get up here, okay? And most of the water will be absorbed by the LCVG anyway. Actually, it's adsorbed, if they're technical about it, by the LCVG. I mean, you might splash a drop or two, but you're not going to get a blob of water like what he was experiencing from anything like that. So, and then, of course, he said the water was cold. And why is that important? Well, think about it. If you have a drink bag sitting on your chest for several hours, is it going to be cold? No, it's going to be body temperature water. Nobody ever thought to say, well, is it hot or cold water? And, you know, if he said cold, that would have given a different clue. Also, you also heard him say that, he said he drank this water, which makes sense. You got water accumulating around your face. You're going to start drinking it, all right? What did it taste like? Did it taste like drink bag water? No, it tasted metallic. Okay. So something else was going on that we didn't seem to really understand here. So now this is where we need to talk about the Plis. So where did this water, cold water, come from? So this is the Plis, and we basically, like I explained, EMU is a big rubber suit, basically, the spacesuit is. And so we provide this cooling water. Well, the water, we have about a gallon of water that's in the backpack. And it's behind these brass plates here. And there's one there and one there. We have 3 water tanks on board. And it holds about a gallon of water total. And so what we do is this water is used to provide water to sublimate. We use a cooler that's called a sublimator in the EMU. And basically what that is, sublimation is very similar to evaporation, if you will. Evaporation everybody's familiar with, certainly, going from a liquid state to a gaseous state, right? Sublimation skips the middleman and it goes from a solid to a gaseous state directly. It's very good for removing heat from things. If you get gnarly ice cubes in the back of your freezer, that's because they've been sublimating back there. And so just going to a gas. So we have this gallon of water back there. And so this is just a really quick little diagram here. But basically, this is the sublimator over here, the cooler. Okay. And this is represents the LCVG, the liquid cooling ventilation garment. So this is Luca. The warm water comes out of here, goes through a pump and circulates. And this is basically a lot of plumbing to do. We have a mixing valve that controls the temperature. So you don't get too hot, don't get too cold. And then eventually it comes back here, goes to the sublimator, gets cooled down, and returns to the Plis, to the backpack, to those water tanks to actually be used as potentially used for cooling. Now, we try to recycle because we're good, right? And so in the sublimator, we actually run. This is yellow part is what we call the vent loop. That's the atmosphere. That's the oxygen with a lot of water vapor because you're very humid. You've been sweating, you're breathing, all that kind of stuff. And then this right above that, right there, that's a cold plate. And then above that, we have the water that's flowing through the LCVG. And then above that is what we call the feed water. And that's what's feeding an ice layer that's the top of the sublimator that is sublimating into space, okay? And so basically we dehumidify our atmosphere in the suit by running that moist air across a cold plate and the moisture condenses out. Then that is carried along and it's slurped up by something called the slurper right there. And it's returned into the EMU through what's called the water separator. What's that? Oh, okay. So the water separator, basically, you take that water, air, if you will, oxygen mixture, bring it in here. It travels through these little holes here, there, and there's this drum that's going really fast, about 20,000 RPM, and centrifuges the water to the outside of the drum, and then it slides along that outside. This is called a pedo, and it's basically a vacuum cleaner, and it's sucking the water and returning it back to the Plis, back to the backpack. Well, there are about a dozen of these little holes right here, and there they are in the real live drum. We have these little holes. Each of these holes is about 2/100ths of an inch in diameter, and what we found was this stuff. We brought back the water separator and looked at it in a lab here on Earth, and it's filled with silicates. And basically, so when you plug up those little holes, the water just goes right back into the vent loop and now is accumulating at the back of Luca's head. Now, where the heck did that stuff come from? Because we always knew that so this is basically our intermediate cause, if you will. We always knew that we had things like these little holes. We also knew that we leave the EMUs on orbit in the space station for up to 6 years at a time. So we do a couple of things to keep corrosion and nasties from forming, because if you left water sitting there for months at a time, it would grow bugs and things like that. So we treat it with iodine. Anybody know what iodine tastes like? Metal. Okay. And we use very clean water to process the EMUs on the ground and on orbit. In fact, it's kind of like distilled water on steroids. We call it polished water. And so then we have this system called the All Clear, the airlock loop cooling recovery system or something like that. Anyway, cooling loop recovery. And basically it scrubs that water, and we do this every few months. And it's got a resin bed in there to take other contaminants out and that kind of thing. And so we clean it up. Maybe sometimes apply some more iodine and that kind of thing. So, and we clean up the water. So this is supposed to take care of anything like this. Well, making a long story a little shorter, we found out that our water that we were using on the ground wasn't exactly polished. When they tested the water samples coming out of the EMU, they found fluoride in it. And the chemists immediately knew that was now Houston tap water. And if you know from your own tap, we also have very hard water, don't we? So, so yes, we have been processing our delicate EMUs with Houston tap water. This is not a good thing. And so, and to top it off, here are a couple of resin cartridges that came from the same lot that were used for the All Clear on board the station. And if you look carefully, there's corrosion on these things. This is a very high quality stainless steel. It's not supposed to have corrosion, so it's obviously been exposed to something very corrosive. And that's our water. And so that they found when they tested these resin cartridges, they were saturated with contaminants. They were actually sloughing silicates off the resin cartridges into the EMU. The process we were using from start to finish to clean the water in the EMU was actually the culprit contaminating everything. Holy moly. So that's not a good thing. And so after that, I'll let Chris explain what happened later.
This is Luca's helmet. And the ventilation air comes into the helmet through this port right here, and then goes behind the crew member's head, and then blows the air across the front of your face. Well, with water, a mixture of water and air getting into this vent port, the water bubbles started to build up behind this white plastic piece. Once the water got big enough that it went all the way around and started coming outside the edge of the white plastic, then it saturated his communication cap, and sort of capillary flow just brought the water all around his head, and he had water on and it filled up in his ear cups, and it started to creep into his eyes and covered his nose. Scary situation. The ground teams worked really well to give us some direction, and as a team, we got everybody back, and everything was fine.
Now, the folks at Mission Control are pretty smart, okay? So, and they're experts on the EMU. So how did they miss this, okay? Like I said, we've been working with the EMU for 50 years, or 40 years with this particular one. And it's never happened before, and nobody understood why it happened this time. Now, part of it was this mistaken common knowledge that either one of two things would occur if you did get water in the vent loop. One was it would create drag on the fan, which is very low torque, high RPM, low torque fan, and it would basically stop the fan, and you'd know that you need to come in. And if it didn't do that, if water managed to get past the fan, it would like rain in the helmet. Now, the first one is an experience we had in the early days of EVA and the space shuttle program with the EMU, where we did ground testing. And we had failures where water did get into the fan cavity and it did stop the fan. So that was that. The second one, I still don't get. And I was in that along with everybody else at the time, thinking, yeah, it's gonna spit water, and because we had seen spitting of water in the helmet in 1G primarily, sometimes in 0G, but nothing of any quantity. And so it was assumed it's going to rain in the helmet. Now, we've all seen the videos of astronauts playing with water in space. They have little bubbles of water here and bubbles of water here, and they glom together. They never go apart because of surface tension. All of our understanding of this water phenomenon was all skewed because we didn't ever, for some reason, take into account the action of surface tension in 0G. So in the case of the fan, what we learned was the water was basically coming in just the right quantity at just the right speed, that it was hugging the walls of the vent line itself, and then kind of it went around the fan and extruded out the other side where the helmet was. So the fan was basically unaffected. The second one, it still gets me, but we should have known that water's going to glom together. And I think it's just one of those things. I've seen it happen a million times in my career where people are really good at holding two contradictory thoughts at the same time and never seeing the contradiction. And so we saw the videos playing with water. We know it gloms together, and that we had this, everybody had this idea that water was going to somehow rain in the helmet. So don't know how they got that. So just ironically, if you will, a few days before all this happened, Luca made a video based on the fact that Karen had already made a video a few days earlier where, she's got the long blonde hair. So sharing everybody how to wash her hair. She had a whole process for how she's going to do that in 0G. Well, Luca thought he'd make a video too.
Last week, Karen made a video how she washes her hair. And so today, I thought it was a good idea to show you how I wash my hair.
And please note what the water's doing to his big bald head. This is what was happening basically inside the helmet. Now here he can wipe it away.
And that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. So after Luca's incident, of course, EVAs were suspended aboard the ISS until we could figure all this stuff out and get all the board recommendations, the investigation complete, the recommendations implemented, and all that kind of stuff. And in addition to ensuring that we now have good, clean, polished water used in the processing of the EMUs and the resin cartridges, we made several operational modifications as well. We now have the crew put something called the helmet absorptive pad or absorptive pad extender. We've taken Depends diapers, made them fit inside the helmet, and basically the glamour of spaceflight, people, you get to wear a diaper on your head while you're EVA. It's in the back and all this kind of stuff. And then what we have them do is periodically during the EVA, you have them check and see, does it feel wet or cold or anything squishy back there, just to make sure that there's nothing happening. And we have had it occur since then, and that worked. And then finally, you also have what's called the snorkel. If worse comes to worse and you get into a Luca situation and it's covering your eyes and nose and ears and mouth and everything else, and you can't breathe, use the snorkel. It's Velcroed right next to the drink bag in the front of the suit there. And basically you breathe as a snorkel goes down into your pants, basically, and you breathe down there. I mean, it's maybe stinky and humid, but at least you've got air, okay? And you can get through it, but hopefully we won't ever have to use that thing. But yes, space flight is very glamorous. So what did we conclude from all this? Well, basically, the board found that just as Frank Borman, who was the commander of Apollo 8 and the chair of the Apollo 1 fire accident investigation board, had concluded that the Apollo 1 fire was a failure of imagination. So was this. We really couldn't imagine this properly. Furthermore, as so many accidents before it, this was an example of groupthink. It was shown time and time again, we tend to normalize deviancy. There's this element of complacency. I mean, everybody knew it was the drink bag. We don't even need to worry about it. There was a lack of curiosity. Water had been seen before, never was a problem. There wasn't enough curiosity about what happened on EVA 22. Just an assumption, it was the drink bag. Not enough thinking outside the box. Now, the good news is that this is now part of the NASA training system as a case study. In the 1930s, retired RAF Captain Alfred Gilmer Lamplugh made this oft-quoted statement about aviation, and has been echoed throughout my career as applying to spaceflight as well. He said, aviation in itself is not inherently dangerous, but to an even greater degree than the sea, it is terribly unforgiving of any carelessness, incapacity, or neglect. Our associate administrator at the time, Bill Gerstenmaier, called this water intrusion mishap a gift. And then, although Luca endured a stressful event, it did not result in injury or death, served as a reminder of the importance of vigilance. This time we got lucky. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so during all this stuff, did you ever feel like he was having trouble breathing during any of this?
No. Yes and no. I mean, towards the end, definitely, it was covering his nose, and he kept having to get it away from his mouth, and blow and whatever. But I mean, certainly during the early parts, no. I mean, it really became bad towards the end. Oh, I forgot to mention, in the end, he had a liter of water in his helmet.
Wow.
2 of these. So, ish. So yeah, but no, not yet. If it had gone much longer, that's what I mean. If they'd gone down to the end of the truss, and they didn't react faster.
Yeah.
Of course, now I think I felt water. Now let's terminate EVA, but because that's what we do. But yeah.
Okay. You said that the suit wasn't cleaned with the polished water; it was cleaned with the Houston water.
Yeah.
But I was confused because that when we took Houston water by accident all the way to the space station.
Yep. and they filled the water tanks with there's a little bit of yes and no to that. I mean, depending, I'm not sure. This is a good question. The water that had been processed in the EMU was Houston tap water before it left home.
When it's still here.
While it's still here, the resin cartridges that we flew were saturated. So every time they did an all clear thing, they dumped crap into the EMU, and that kind of thing. So probably the water that was in the Bliss at the time probably was actually, we've got what they call technical water on board the space station that's been scavenged from the space shuttle program actually forever, that we use to fill the EMUs with, and that's supposed to be clean water because that was made by fuel cells and things like that, and so it doesn't have fluoride or silicates in it, that kind of thing. But so it's primarily probably the all clear resin beds that did this to it more than anything else.
I don't know much about how the spacesuit works, so it was sounding at the beginning like the head area is separate from the body in the sense that, I was trying to figure out how come the fluid is collecting around the head. There's nothing.
It's just that's what Chris was trying to explain. You have the vent pad in the back there. So this water was, remember, surface tension. It's all about surface tension with that water. So it came in and it contacts this vent pad in the back. And so it kind of grew as a big blob back there, touched his little bald head with the comm cap on it. and then kind of like the blob kind of just migrated around. It wasn't raining. It was just extruding and growing a big blob back there, and he's moving around. And so it's moving around like you saw in that video and that kind of thing. And eventually it just went traveled. And then when he flipped over, it really, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Oh yeah, that was part of the report. That was absolutely part of the report. Yeah. And I think I pretty much told you what happened. I mean, they and it was just the lack of. They came real close. They came real close a couple of times in the loops. You can hear some. Hey, let's pull out the schematic and take a look. They just didn't think about there was another source of water. It would have been so instructive if somebody would have said, "What's the temperature of the water?" But they didn't. Everybody got so locked in on the drink bag that they didn't think about another source of water. And that's one of those, guys, what are you thinking? And that kind of thing. But I mean, for the grace of God go I. I mean, I've been in that seat and I've done, been fooled before. And so it's just one of those things that darn it. And I'll tell you what, they won't do it again. Go ahead, Dave.
Charlie, will lessons learned from American space?
I do not know. I do not know much about the Russian suit. I don't think that they have. I can tell you it's being applied in the lunar suit. I don't think we're ever going to be mixing vent loops and cooling loops again, which is a little bit of a shame in terms of being able to not waste the water. But they may come up with something else, another way to trap that water and reuse that in the cooling loop. But
water's precious.
Water's precious. I mean, I don't think we're dumping it anywhere, but whether the EMU will use it, I mean, I don't know. But yeah, everybody looks at that because that was that confluence of the loops there in the water separator was the thing, Yeah.
Begin with.
There is now. I mean, that's the HAP, and all of its manifestations that you stick in the helmet before you go. But yeah. So, but not back in those days.
Okay, Rick, you brought some Sky and Telescope magazines?
So go ahead and grab them.
Excellent. Okay, after the meeting, we're going to get together at Mod Pizza. It's the one in front of HEB, Clear Lake City Boulevard in El Dorado. Everyone's welcome to join us. Go up there and eat some pizza, talk about spacesuits and other things. Hope you can all join us for that. And we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we'll pick up with the second half of our meeting, 10 minutes.
Actually, start out. And then it wasn't all my careers. This back. That's right. You're on their blog, but it's just the night that never. That's what it's but just looks at that. I was trying to go out the top. Yes. Yes, oh, I did. It's never been. First question. I asked the question, they wait until the hours. That's all. That's what they did. I haven't changed it. It's not still live.
Okay, 10 minutes is up. We're going to get started with the second half of our meeting. Okay, gonna get started. Okay. Really? Everyone's going to cooperate without me getting out my extra tools? Okay, we can't start till everyone's okay. Everybody ready? Alrighty. Astronomy Day 2025. So Astronomy Day is September 27th at the Insperity Observatory. It's going to be a great event. So yeah, it's going to start at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and go through 10 o'clock at night. There's going to be outdoor activities, lots of different things. Anybody, kids, adults, families, whatever. It's going to be a lot of fun. Last I heard, there's over 2,000 people that have signed up that are coming as guests. So we still need volunteers. And here's some of the things that are left to be done. They have a couple indoor presentation slots open, 60-minute presentation, outdoor presenters on various astronomy topics. They need more people with telescopes. They said room for at least 15 more deck scopes. They call them deck scopes, but you just bring your telescope and let people look through them. Welcome table, all clubs table, where somebody from our club and tells them about how wonderful our club is. We need people to do that. And set up and take down. If you'd like to volunteer to help, you can send an email to aaron@clevelandson.org. And there's been emails being sent out about this every week or so, but we're getting close to it. So we need volunteers. This is actually part of the Houston Science Festival, Houston STEM Week. And there's going to be a lot of people there. The other astronomy days, we used to have the George Observatory. I mean, I've been to them when they've had 3,000 to 4,000 people, and it's probably going to be something like that for this one. So it's going to be a big event. If you don't want to volunteer, you can't attend, but they'd like for you to register so they can figure out about how many people are coming. Just all you got to do is remember astronomyday.net. You can go to that web page, and you can just tell them you're going to come, just to help them out, know if there's going to be 2,000 or there's going to be 10,000 people there. So either volunteer or attend. It's going to be fun.
Can I ask you something quick about that?
Yes.
For the club to work at the desk with astrophotography. Aaron reached out to me and asked me if I could do the deck scope because he's like, that's a bigger demand. How many volunteers did we get? Can I do the deck scope instead? I don't know who signed up for the club to do the astrophotography bit.
You and Stan are doing astrophotography.
Asking if I could step up outside and use the C-Star to do solar and then have my main telescope for night stuff. So
I would rely on Aaron to make the decision on that.
he's like, so,
Well, you think about it, you got 2,000-3,000 people there. They all want to look through a telescope. There's only 5 telescopes out there. That's going to be a total mess. So they really need more deck scopes badly.
astrophotography because I requested that also to be at the table and that we got.
Okay, and there's several C-Star users here. I'm thinking, several C-Star users here. Yeah, I'm seeing 2 of them right now. 3 of them. Okay. He's saying he wants him to do solar with it too. Right. Mark, listen, I would trust Aaron to whatever he wants. Hey, I think that'd be great. We do need more volunteers for it, but Aaron's being kind of a scatterbrain right now because he's got so much stuff. Because I volunteered to do a deck scope, and then when I got the list, it said I'm doing the radio astronomy table. I said, what? So okay, so I'll do that. Fine, whatever. You know. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
I am doing one of the talks, one of the indoor talks.
So
And I'm going to do this, something I've never done before. It's orbital mechanics without the math.
and you're also going to do a deck scope afterwards?
No, I'm actually talking with the all with the Night Sky Network team.
Oh, okay, that's all right then. Dr. Masood, you got something for us? You can do all kinds of stuff. You know things. You're like a professor, right? Look at all those things you can do.
Part of the night, I'll also do an outdoor talk on the celestial neighborhood.
Oh my goodness.
If I'm inside the building itself with one of the 3 scopes inside the main observatory buildings, because I've been out there nearly every Monday.
Excellent. Well, you're going to get a gold star, Justin. I'm telling you, doing 3 things. Dr. Masood, look at all those things you can do. You can do one of those things.
Yeah, thought about that, but in my own position.
Okay. Well, just send Aaron an email and say, hey, I want to volunteer, right? Yeah, good. All right. Anybody else? Any more comments about Astronomy Day? Good. Thank you. I hope you guys can come. If you don't want to volunteer, come, because, you know, we haven't had an Astronomy Day for a bunch of years here in Houston. This is part of Houston STEM Week, so it's going to be fun. There'll be little kids and family and stuff there. Okay. JSC officers election. I'm asking B Hung and Brandon to come down here and join me for a minute. Okay, so our previous vice president, Chris Wells, has moved to another part of the city, and you may have noticed that he has not been active in our club for a long time. So not too long ago, Chris resigned as vice president, and I have invited Brandon to be our new vice president. Yes. Now, the reason I asked Brandon is Brandon's an active astronomer. He goes to most of our out-of-town astronomy events. He's also a professor of astronomy. He teaches astronomy, and he is an employee of NASA at the Johnson Space Center. In addition to that, he has a PhD in space science. And if you've ever heard one of Brandon's talk, you'll know it's top-notch. So I really feel like Brandon would be a great vice president for our club. And so I invited him, and he's agreed with some stipulations. So our friend B, come on over here. B is going to help us conduct an election here. Brandon and I are going to leave the room. So, and we'll have some discussion here in a minute. But you can vote yes to elect Brandon as our vice president with the understanding that he prefers to be vice president over the next year or longer. And then he'll decide if he wants to become the president, or if he wants to just head out and not do anything, or still be vice president.
Yeah, I have a very busy schedule. I'm committed to the club for sure. But
yeah,
I just need time to evaluate.
He's a busy guy. So, or you can vote no against this plan, and we'll continue without a vice president this time. We'll come up with some other idea, and we'll have another election. So, any questions or discussion about this before Brandon and I leave the room? No, we're not going to do it that way. YouTube, no, we're not going to do it that way. It's very simple. It's going to be a straight yes or no, but we're not going to be here when you do it. Any other comments or questions? Good. What?
And so if B decides prefers to just stay as the VP,
yes,
that means that you'll be just maintaining as the president and do perpetuity.
No. I will be continuing to think about another person who could be president as we go along here, and maybe next month we'll vote in a new president. But right now we have a volunteer that was willing to be vice president. That's what we got. So that's all we're talking about right now. Do you guys know how I became president?
By default? Not really.
Wait a minute. What? Woohoo! Okay. No, I know. 8. Okay. So in May of 2017, we went to Mod Pizza, and our former president stood up and said, "I quit." That's how I became president. And we had a vote, and then me and Chris, I was president and Chris was vice president. But I'm very happy for other people to do this. But so far, okay, so we're working on it. Okay, so you guys can vote no. If you don't like this plan, we'll figure out something else. But if you vote yes, I'll continue to be president for now. Brandon will be vice president, and we'll be continuing to work on new ideas. Well, okay, for starters, this club has no rules or bylaws at all. So that's why we're having to vote to see what we want to do. There are people within the club that think the vice president is supposed to become president, but there's no rules that says you have to do that. You could be vice president forever and then quit. So we had no rules, we had no bylaws. We could do whatever we want to do as a club. Oh, also, anyone here, we say that membership is based on attendance. So if you're here, you're a member. Everyone in this auditorium gets to vote tonight. Whether you feel like you've been here or not, if you're here, you're a member, everybody gets to vote, and there's no age restrictions on voting. There's no age restrictions on voting either. You can be a member no matter what your age is. What? Anybody? What? If you're a baby and you're here, you can vote. Okay, come on, guys, we got other stuff to do tonight. What, Mark? What? What? That's correct.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He knows that.
I've given talks here and I hope to do so in the
Yeah,
future.
he's a smart guy. He knows that, but he's too busy to be president right now. I think Brandon would be an excellent president myself. Okay, but I don't want to just pass it off to just anybody. I want someone who I feel like would handle the club well, does great presentations, know a lot about astronomy, is an active astronomer. That's what I'm trying to do here. But if I find someone that I feel is a good president, I will be out of here in a split second. So, but you got to meet some good criteria, I think, to be this club president. And you also got to get along with people. That's very important. We don't want someone as president that's always causing controversy and problems. We want someone who gets along with people. Okay. And Brandon gets along with people very well. So that's a good thing. So, all right, we are leaving and you guys vote. And then Al, can you tell us when we can come back in?
I don't know anything. I only know count the hands. Okay, give me your hand if you vote yes. I guess so. We don't need to count the no, yeah. Okay, you can now see come back. No count needed. I mean, who me? Yeah.
All righty. Next up, Trevor's going to tell us about his Isle Sky camera testing. Brandon or Trevor.
All right. So we'll get started here. Lovely title screen. Okay. So basically, I built this little contraption. It's a Raspberry Pi with a Raspberry Pi camera. Built a little, or installed a dome. Closed up the case. That's my all sky camera. From the outside, under the latches, I drilled the holes for the cables to pass through, so that when those latches are closed, it'll keep the weather out of it. And this is what it looks like when it's fully closed up. And I then took a weekend. I went to my family's ranch. And let's see, is it going to go? And I captured this one night. And you can see the Milky Way spinning. Now, that's pretty much the presentation I was going to give. I've got one that I carry. Chris Wells has our prototype that we built. And he also has another one just like this one that is now permanently mounted at their cabin in North Carolina. So I can actually access that from here. And after the meeting, if you guys would like to see that, I could show it to you. Thank you.
Water time.
It will be. I have not put silicone on it yet. It's the box itself is weatherproof. But I do have some of those desiccant packs that I can toss in there. I was also thinking about adding a fan and some other things, but I just haven't gotten there yet. So far, it has not been a problem, but I do have an active heat sink on the processor. So it's got a fan and the heat sink. Okay, so this is a ranch, and there's hunting that goes on, and there is some motion. There are motion lights way off in the distance that kick on when game comes around. So I'm assuming that that's what it picked up. I don't know for sure. No, I'm not going to claim it's anything other than a stray green light from something at that ranch. Anybody else? All right. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have Al with what's in the sky in September and recent astronomy news.
Hey, everybody. So I always start off with meteor showers, and so there are a couple. This didn't print out very good, but essentially the Draco is one of the constellations which is in the north, and I've never seen this one. I've seen the Orion, Originate. I just don't know how to pronounce these things. And this is part of the Halley's Comet, and this is late in the month, and this might coincide with the star parties. And so that's a really great thing because when we're out at a star party, we like to see more meteors. So this is an interesting binocular object, the jellyfish cluster. The interesting thing about this is one of the first globular clusters that they started to study blue stragglers. So I've been talking the last several months about blue stragglers, and we've also been talking about, we're going to see a little bit about little red dots. So they're trying to come up with new names for things. And so I try to, with these objects, try to come up with something interesting about them, some background information. M72, I did not get any new information on that. These are both in Hercules. And third one, I can't remember that I've looked at a lot of things in GRU. There are some constellations that have very few objects in them and are small constellations, but GRU, this is called the Grand Design Galaxy. And left is a little bit more typical. What you see, it's a pretty big galaxy, and it looks very similar to what the Milky Way would look like. But what they really like when they can zoom in, I guess is the Hubble picture on the right, is you can see these tufted knots in here. And this is where in an active galaxy, you're getting new star growth, maybe some planet formation, that type of thing. So these are very popular objects for astronomers to look at. I thought I nixed this one. I think I did this in a previous talk, maybe it was even last month, but I love this. The giant behemoth, I don't think I spelled that right. But the reason why I love it is because in the left picture, you can see this small galaxy that's either in the foreground or the background. And that's really cool. The next one, this one I didn't do, the Saturn Nebula. This is also really neat planetary nebula. On the left is what you kind of typically see. I've never really seen this internal structure in the center, but you tend to see these little wings off to the side. Obviously, the reason why it's called Saturn Nebula, but very cool. I really love the planetary nebulas. This is another one. This is not really such a glorious one, little gem, because typically what we only see is this object on the left, even with larger telescopes. If you can see something like this Hubble image on the right with some structure, then you're very lucky. So let's see, 6964. Interacting galaxy with galaxy nearby. So you can kind of see that on the right picture. There's another galaxy off to the lower left. But what I thought was very interesting is they're showing like what it would look like with, you know, when the early days of radio telescopes were going on, we were looking at quasars and some of these very small and point type objects. And over time, with these larger arrays, you can actually look inside the objects like galaxies and other objects like that. And this shows you like the definition that they're able to get out of that image on the left, and you can get on the image on the right. And I think you can see a lot more parts of the galaxy on the right image with the submillimeter radio telescopes than you actually see visually. This I also thought I did recently, but once again, I really love it. The Superman galaxy. I'm getting ready for the star party, and this is a really cool galaxy. We don't have a lot of barred galaxies we get to look at, and so this is one. And then let's go pretty quickly here through a couple. So these are interacting galaxies. ARPs are usually obscure. They are very faint. They're usually 14 magnitude, 15. So they're for scopes about 16-inch, 18-inch. But if you're lucky to look through one, maybe at a star party, then it's really cool to see some of these interacting galaxies. ARPs were, a list was started by a man with the name ARP, and he was looking primarily at messed up galaxies that had disturbances or interacting galaxies. And so I like to include these. This one I thought was really cool because on the right image, I'm trying to remember what I liked about it. Can't remember. I think I've looked at this before. On the left, it looks almost like two galaxies or two centers of galaxies close together. But I think the right image shows that if you can really zoom in here, you could really see a lot of other structure to the galaxies than just two little galaxies. We're just gonna, I'm trying to proceed on pretty fast because we used up quite a bit of time. So recent astronomy news. This is my favorite part. I mean, the objects are really cool and everything, but it's showed me so much by doing some of this research. So the latest talk is about little red dots. So when they started using the James Webb telescope a lot more, they saw some of this in the Hubble. They started seeing a lot more red, older galaxies that are really, really far away. And so they haven't come up with a new name other than little red dots. But so these are little, they might be protoplanetary areas as well. But you can see here about the timing and everything. But the question has been, is like, what is the relationship between little red dots and the blue dogs? And so they both occurred at a certain time in the formation from the Big Bang. And so one was a little bit earlier, one's a little bit later. So they're still trying to study these, but the blue dogs are UV light, and then the little red dots are this highly redshifted early galaxies. I just, you know, I dug up these pictures on the left because this is what I was seeing on the right, but I don't see the little red dogs. I don't see the blue or the little red dots. I don't see the blue dogs either. So I found this image on the left, which showed a lot more. I picked this one because I've never heard of fossil lobes. So it's fossil. I'm trying to remind myself what FRL stands for, fossil radio lobe. So they're using, once again, the submillimeter radio arrays in order to look inside of this structure. And you can see like parts of two galaxies there, but in between them is some filamentary material that shows that you know, in a regular observing telescope, you only see the galaxies, but we're using the radio telescopes, they can see this material in between. And so that tells them a little bit more about how they interacted. It wasn't just smash bang, it was smash bang and then drawing a whole bunch of material between them. What that's going to tell them, you know, we all like to try to relate it to human life, like we're going to learn something that helps us, but a lot of scientists just seem to want to discover and try to understand. And so hopefully through the fabric of the understanding, we gain more of something that's useful. But so last slide. So this solar telescope has better resolution by more than like 2.5 times. And so what makes it interesting is you can see and resolve down to 24 kilometers. I forget how big that ends up being. They were saying something about the distance, but I have a little video here, which is really cool. The parts that we're talking about are down here, like lower middle, and you can see them interacting in the video next. And it's not just these big filaments, but it's a bunch of small little strands. And that's why I find this very interesting. You can kind of see them coming and going. So you have to imagine that the dark parts are like the higher parts and the brighter parts are like the lower parts, because it's coming up like a feathery thing like this. And so there's parts rising and then they're cooling, and then the parts below, which are closer, are hotter. And so it just kind of breathes like that. I think I lied. There's one more. But I'm going to just do this one real quick here. This is my favorite. Did anybody know there's a thing called Ursa Major 3? Did anybody know that there's something called this? So there's a cluster that's orbiting like our galaxy, and it only has 60 stars in it. And they kind of figured out by doing some triangulation about the distances that these stars, so that's the star field on the left that you normally see, but the image on the right are actually the stars that are in this cluster that are nearby. And it's only 60, you know, stars, so it's kind of unusual, but it's there and it's something. Thank you.
Okay, David with Star Party News.
This will be quick as well, I promise.
Because we didn't have anything last month. That makes it real easy. So September 19th to 27th is Okie-Tex. As Doug mentioned, September 27th is A-Day at Inspirity. September 28th, Sunday, Hack Winery. This actually is going to be shaping up to be probably the last event of the year. I know you can look down and say October 3rd. As of this afternoon, I was only a week later than that event, but as of this afternoon, that one's been canceled. Okie-Tex is September 19th through 27th. They are really seriously booked for weddings. So this September 28th may be it. I'm literally on an airplane the following Monday morning at 7 o'clock. So I'm 50-50 for that event, but it's on the Sunday. So from 6 to 9, hopefully folks can make that one. October 16th and 19th is the club's trip to Fort McCavitt. This has been daisy chained. The fort will let us stay till the 20th, so we can go. So those you can also hang around and go to the El Dorado Star Party from the 20th to the 25th. October 28th, brand new as of about a week ago, we've got a midweek event at Armand Bayou. They very much appreciated us being there the last time. They'd like us back again. I have not checked what would be up that night. November 1st, Saturday, is Sun and Moon Night at the George, and it's actually also Evelyn Metter Library. Note, we also used to have an event at Hack as well. They needed it for a wedding. So wedding is kind of, weddings supersede us, you know. Apparently not. So November 1st, Evelyn Metter. I got to figure out if I'm going to go to the George or go to Evelyn Metter. We had so much fun there last time. It should be good. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're outside of daylight savings. So it should be Nice, should be a good dark sky, and hopefully we have a number of DSOs to look at. November 15th so far finishes out the year at Magnolia Creek Golf Course. Still sliding into 2026. Come on, enter. There we go. March 22nd through 23rd. This is apparently still ongoing. Our trip to the fort has sort of been morphed into the multi-club Messier Marathon. We've got 14 clubs potentially involved. There's only been activity out of 6. The 4 Houston clubs, the San Antonio club, and the Austin club. The other clubs are so far have not yet responded. I keep trying to tell the sweetheart from the San Antonio club who wants everything organized with I's dotted and T's crossed today for an event that's 7 months out, that it's not going to happen until probably 4 weeks before the event is when you're going to start getting your massive people to try to show up to that event. April 9th through 12th, by popular request of this club only, we have our own little event to Fort McCavitt. This is going to also have some issues back here because they keep trying to tell these people that if you want to stay for free at the fort, you got to do the Saturday night Star Party. There are people who are saying, well, the Star Party can move. No, Star Party is set in stone. It's on that Saturday. You do the Star Party or don't bother. And that's kind of the wall I'm dealing with. Hopping all the way out, October 8th through 12th, 2026. That trip to the fort has also been confirmed and on the books. Any questions? Otherwise, yeah.
Okay, did you see the email about the JSC Astronomical?
Yeah, I did not have time to get it up in here.
But you understand the rest.
I'll put it up. I don't recall the date. Do you off the top of your head?
I think it's October.
Let's see. Okay.
These are 2 different things.
Yeah. Come up with some perspective Tuesdays and we'll go from there. Yeah. Hit Doug and me to remind me. Yeah. All right. And thank you, Richard Slater. Oh, turn off your flashlight. There's a real interesting star cluster. I'm trying to get a picture of it.
Okay, Rick missed his big, yeah, he's not even here. Oh, well, he left. Okay, next month, we're going to have Paul Maley, Solar Eclipse and Northern Lights JSC AS watch plans. And believe it or not, Paul's going to be a remote speaker. And Trevor, our guy that's holding all of our streaming together here, is going to make this happen. So it's going to be something.
Hopefully.
Yes, yes, we're going to have a remote speaker and we're going to do an in-person meeting. It's going to be fun, I hope.
I'm sorry.
Well, whatever. Okay, door prizes. Get out your door prize ticket. And let's see if we can win something good. All righty. Okay, 314. Last 3 numbers, 314. Anybody got 314? Going. Everybody still here? What happened?
Rick.
Okay, whatever. Yeah, it's probably Rick's.
No.
It's not?
No.
It's yours? You don't want a door prize? Fine.
No, he didn't have a 341.
Okay, 339. 339. Do I have the wrong bucket of tickets here? B? What? Okay, 315. Okay, wait a minute. How do we do these tickets? You pulled one off one side and put the other one in the bucket, right? What? Okay, 320. No, I threw them away from last time. Okay, 309. The last 3 numbers in a ticket. Okay, B, you're fired as door person. Okay, 357. Oh my goodness, Justin, get yourself over here. Justin,
Yes.
I have a map of Jupiter. I have a map of the moon. I have, hold on a minute. Oh, I have some amazing sights, night sky playing cards. Cool, huh? All right. Okay, B, you get to keep your job as door person now. Thank you. All right. Okay, 344. 344. Okay, Forrest, come on, man. Okay, Forrest, you be thinking when you're coming down here. Moon map, Jupiter map. Oh, wait, I have something for you. This is pretty cool. B and Jerry brought these. Astronomy stargazing. See, this fold out thing. Are you coming? If you want this, I'll bring it up to you. Good. All right. Got that. I got ooh. Explore the Universe, 2nd edition. You like Explore the Universe, right? Yeah. Is that a book or what? It's a book, Explore the Universe. It's kind of like this. You want to work for last time.
No, it's been like a year.
And then we got astronomy stargazing.
I do the book.
Book? Yeah. All right. Thank you. You can keep that as a souvenir. Okay. I'm so glad somebody had one of the numbers. All right. We'll do 2 more and then we'll get out of here and go eat pizza. 350. All right, Reed. Oh, I got the perfect gift for Reed. Reed. Would you like a ZWO keychain?
Oh, no, thank you.
Would you like a keychain have a little light on it?
No, I'm good.
Those Reed actually donated these. Okay, I got something even better. I have some astronomy socks. Now, okay, it's a choice. These astronomy socks or radio astronomy socks?
The regular astronomy.
Regular, he wants to be regular.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
All right, thank you.
All right. One more. Where's Stan? I got something special for you. You need to win one of these. 341. Ed, come on, Ed. Ed, you be thinking when you're coming down here, okay? I have a Junior Ranger Explorer kit. He probably didn't want that. Astronomy stargazing. Are you paying attention to me, Ed? You gotta listen. Oh, you probably don't need that.
You want thoughts?
Oh, this is what Ed really needs. You want pictures from Clear Missions, STS 101, STS 95?
No.
Look at, I knew you wouldn't want that. I got a thing you can put your cell phone on your telescope. Stargazing. I got a little book called Constellation Finder.
Sure.
All right. All right, Ed. Okay, thank you all for coming. See you at Mod Pizza. See you next month. You get so many. Good, Claire. Hey, how you doing?
I